Baik, menarik dalam Nadi Arena edisi 2 Jun. Hari ini kami bawakan orang penting tulang belakang Harimau Malaya untuk berdiskusi mengenai apa yang terbaru perkembangan skuad negara.
So let's say hello and welcome to the studio Ketua Pegawai Eksekutif CEO Harimau Malaya, Rob Brand. How are you, Rob?
I'm very good. Thanks for having me.
This is the first time you'll be in Nadi Arena?
Very first time, yeah.
Hope for more.
Many requests, but this is the first time.
Wow. Okay, so let's just go straight to the questions.
Yes. First of all, let's talk about the Harimau Malaya revolution. We've seen so many changes in just 6 months with the Malaysian abroad players and huge shift in coaching and management staff. Is this moving too fast for you, or is it in the right track?
No, look, I think we set a strategy in place, and we're grateful for His Royal Highness TMJ to set the vision and the strategy, and that's why I'm here, to help execute on that vision. And the vision is to compete globally, to compete in global football, and to do that we have to set a strategy in place and push ourselves, and that means identifying Malaysians abroad. Obviously, that's a very hot topic right now. This is normal in global football. You look at most nations; they're doing the same. And that's the reality of global football: is you have to find players of heritage that are playing at the highest level. Obviously, we have to focus as well, on the domestic player and support the domestic player, support the domestic league. That league is growing, and we got to keep pushing the standards of the league, because majority of our players play in the Malaysian Super League. So, I think it's it's multiple strategies that we put in place, and you've seen the last couple of weeks with the national team in camp. We're pushing what we have, and we're going to continue to do so.
Okay, Rob, talking about strategies, right? Also, we can see that big names like Khairuddin Omar, Nafuzi Zain, Aidil Zafwan, Tan Cheng Ho, Stanley Bernard have joined the movement. So how will their experience shape the national team, in your opinion?
Yeah, no, I think, again, we set out, we've got obviously, a international group coming in, myself, Peter, we've got an Australian staff, but I think it was very important to bring in, Malaysian legends, former players, develop the domestic coach as well. On the business side, obviously, with Stanley working alongside me on, in media, in commercial, on overall football and commercial strategy. So I think we have a really nice mix of, the domestic, former players, coaches, executives in this project, as well as obviously bringing myself with sort of, the global nature that I've been involved in. And Peter, to me, he's an absolute world-class coach, and I'm excited to see what he can do with this group.
Okay, moving on to the next topic. I think this is one of the hot ones. Hector Havel and Gabriel Palmeiro, two Malaysian abroad players who bring positive impact on national team. How does the scouting process like, if you don't mind sharing that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's multifaceted process. I mean, we come with obviously global experience. We have a large network of scouts, of agents. So using our network is number one. There's a process that a lot of national teams use now to identify these players, and as Peter said earlier, we have a large group that we've identified that are Malaysian and that want to play for the country. And I think it's very important that we make sure that we're bringing in the right player, to complement the group. And then obviously with the existing players, you saw the other day against Cape Verde, a team that's going to the World Cup. We went toe to toe with them. They're top 70 in the world, and that group. I'm so proud to see them play, and most of those players play in the domestic league. But it's important that we're going to continue to push with, introducing the right player, the Malaysians abroad, and I'm excited to grow this project with both.
Okay, Rob. Many wants to know Rodrigo Holgado and John Irazabal are reportedly on their way to join the squad. So, what's the current status of their documentation, if you may share with us?
I mean, obviously, I can't comment on names right now until it's official. Like I said, it's a very fluid process, with the documentation process and and work with FIFA. So it's fluid right now. When they're ready, we're going to announce them, and if they're not ready, we're going to have to wait. So, like as Peter mentioned, and I touched on, there's a lot of players we've identified, not just those names, and there's speculation as well. But when they're ready, we're going to announce them, and we're going to integrate them in the group.
All right, we can't wait for that.
Without revealing their names, the updates. on the way here, already here?
Here already?
I can't say. I can't say. There's got to be some sort of suspense, right?
Okay.
So.
Okay, fair. So what's the long term? We want to know the long term goal with more Malaysian abroad players coming in the squad, Rob.
Look, the long-term strategy here is we're building out a calendar for obviously the Asian Cup, you know, and then obviously with the player recruitment strategy, working with the league and supporting the teams in the Malaysian Super League to raise the standards. I think that's important. So really, it's a multifaceted approach of our strategy of working with the league, you know, raising the standards there, you know, working with our global network. And then obviously, like we did against Cape Verde, is playing tougher opponents, pushing ourselves. You know, as Peter mentioned earlier, we've identified some really interesting games coming up that we're gonna announce. And it's about playing teams that are ranked higher than us. I think that's important. We got to push ourselves, and that that's part of this project. As we're playing against better opponents, it's better experience for the players, and then when we go play in qualifying, it's we'll be more prepared. So really, I think the next year and a half, we've built up the calendar. We've identified some top opponents that we want to play, and then in the meantime, really working with the different areas, like you said, player recruitment, player strategy, player development, and then really pushing it to the Asian Cup. Obviously, that's our goal, and then after that, it's World Cup qualifying.
Okay, we'll be meeting Vietnam. The match could be an early decider for our 2026 Asian Cup hopes. If the result goes against us, critics might question this revolution. What's your take on this?
Look, this is a long-term project. We've come into this in the last 4 or 5 months. Especially national team football, it's long-term. It's not club football where you can change the squad, you can change everything overnight. This is a long-term project. So despite we're not looking at one game, one and done, we have to set ourselves on a long-term vision here, and that's 2, 3, 4, 5 years, right? And it's not one and done against Vietnam. Obviously, it's a difficult game, and we're confident going into that game. But we want to set the expectations in the country that we walked into a very challenging project. Malaysia's ranked 130th in the world. The youth national teams have not qualified for any competition. So the reality is, we walked into a very difficult situation. We're very excited in terms of the plan and the vision and the strategy that we've all put in place and the team that we have around us. But this is long term. Like we are here for a long-term project, and we want to leave it when we do eventually leave in a much better place, in a much healthier place, Malaysian football. So it's not about one game, and obviously, we're going to give everything to beat Vietnam, and we hope that the nation shows up and full stadium and supporting the team. But again, we want to set the expectations. Malaysia's ranked 130th in the world. The youth national teams have not made any cups, and I believe out of 16 games, Malaysia's beaten Vietnam twice. So it's again set the expectation, but we're very confident in the long-term vision.
All right.
Okay, Rob. Maybe you wanna tell our passionate friend or fans out there that this is the process and how to trust the process, right? Because it will take a long time. So yeah.
No, you're exactly right. It's trust the process, right? And if we had a short-term vision of this, to me, short-term doesn't mean long-term sustainability. And we have to again leave this Malaysian football in a better place when we eventually leave, and that's my goal. And I came into this thinking long-term, and we have to set the goals long-term, and that means making small steps. But we got to trust the process, and I really hope that the fans again set the expectations, right? That we're not a global powerhouse. But I do believe there's things that we can do, that we can implement, that that we can build to build the national team and build football in Malaysia, and that's obviously starts with the national team. That's sort of the shining star. But there's the under-23s, there's the youth, there's the development in the game here. So there's a lot of areas that needs a lot of work that we're gonna do everything we can to build, and then again leave it in a much better place.
All right. Tomorrow is another important day for Harimau Malaya. Maybe you want to say anything to the fans out there. Maybe come to the stadium and support the team or something like that.
It's a closed-door game, so no one's allowed to show up. And we did that on purpose. Obviously, we had the opportunity for fans to show up against Cape Verde, and it was a phenomenal game. I don't know, the fans that watched it that were lucky to be in the stadium. Again, we went toe-to-toe with a team that's going to the World Cup. And that just shows, obviously, the progress we've already made in the last few months. And we're excited about, the foundation we have now and that we're continuing to build on. So tomorrow's closed doors for strategic reasons. You know, want to work on a few different tactics and then prepare for Vietnam, because that's the ultimate goal for this camp.
Alright, Rob. Thank you so much for your time to be with us today, and hopefully pada anda pula sentiasa menyokong Harimau Melaya dengan pembaharuan-pembaharuan yang akan dibawakan. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.